Jasper Kane floated in the observation deck of the Calthier research vessel Lumini, watching Earth shrink to a pale blue marble against an ocean of stars. 6 months ago, he'd been a freelance photographer in Seattle, barely making rent. Now he was one of 12 humans selected for a cultural exchange program, living aboard an alien ship to foster understanding between species. Most of his fellow participants were scientists or diplomats with relevant expertise. Jasper was here because apparently the Calthier valued those who see beauty and preserve it, and his portfolio of urban landscapes had somehow qualified. His assigned liaison was Nyria, a quiet Calthier woman who seemed perpetually surprised by his questions. She'd been showing him around the ship for 3 weeks now, explaining their technology with careful patience. But there was a formality to her interactions, like she was following a script designed to be informative but not intimate. Tonight she found him in the observation deck during what passed for evening on the ship, the bioluminescent lighting dimmed to simulate night cycles. She stood beside him without speaking, and they watched the stars together in comfortable silence. Jasper noticed how the reflected starlight caught in her eyes, those characteristic amber irises with flecks that seemed to move like living constellations. And without thinking he said, "Your eyes are beautiful." Like looking into deep space but warmer, living galaxies. Nyria went completely still. Her skin flushed through colors he hadn't seen before, surprise and wonder and something that looked almost like fear. Her ears, which had been relaxed, suddenly perked forward with intense focus. "You see that?" she whispered. In my eyes specifically. Jasper, worried he'd somehow offended her, nodded hesitantly. "I mean, all Calthier have striking eyes, but yours seem different. Like there's depth there, movement. I'm sorry if that's weird to say." Nyria was quiet for a long moment, studying him with an intensity that made him self-conscious. Then she said something that changed everything. "I have something even prettier. Want to see it?" There was weight to the question, importance that transcended simple curiosity, and Jasper found himself nodding before fully understanding what he was agreeing to. Nyria led him to a section of the ship he'd never been allowed to enter, the private chambers where Calthier crew members retreated during their resonance cycles, a term no one had bothered to explain to the human visitors. Her hands trembled slightly as she keyed in her access code. "What you complimented," she said, her voice quiet, "wasn't just my physical eyes. Calthier eyes are windows to something deeper. Our inner essence, what you might call a soul, but it's more complex than that. A luminous consciousness that exists partially outside physical space. Most species can't perceive it at all when they look at us. They see only the physical iris and pupil. But you saw the living galaxies, which means you have the ability to perceive resonance." She brought him to a small chamber lit only by bioluminescent panels that pulsed like a heartbeat. "What I'm about to show you, no human has ever seen. Most Calthier guard this carefully, share it only with bonded partners or family. It's sacred, vulnerable. But you saw my eyes truly, without training or explanation, which means something." She turned to face him fully. "Do you want to witness my full resonance? The complete manifestation of my inner essence, freed from the constraints of physical form?" Jasper didn't fully understand what she was offering, but he understood it was profoundly important. "Yes," he said, "please." Nyria closed her eyes and her skin began to glow from within, subtle at first, then increasingly bright. Then something impossible happened. Light emerged from her, not physically but perceptually, like watching consciousness given form. Patterns of luminescence flowed and shifted in colors that didn't quite exist in normal spectrum, vast and intricate as neural networks made of starlight. The essence had shape but not solid form, extending far beyond her physical body, and Jasper realized with awe that he was seeing her true self, the consciousness that inhabited her body but was so much more than flesh. It was overwhelmingly beautiful and desperately intimate. He understood instinctively that this was what she really was, that the body was just a vessel, and she'd just shown him the most vulnerable thing possible. As Jasper witnessed Nyria's resonance, something unexpected happened. His own perception shifted, and he became aware of something within himself responding, a faint luminescence he'd never known existed. Nyria's resonance reached toward it gently, curiously, and where they touched colors bloomed that neither had seen before. Nyria gasped and her eyes opened, the resonance fading back into her physical form. "You have it too," she whispered, wonder replacing fear. "Humans have resonance. We thought you didn't, that you were purely physical beings, but you have it, dormant and undeveloped. You just can't perceive it without someone showing you first." She explained carefully, and Jasper felt the weight of each word. Her species evolved to nurture their resonance, to exist partially in that luminous space between thought and energy. They'd assumed it was unique to Kelthir biology. But if humans had it too, even in nascent form, it changed everything about how the Kelthir Council viewed humanity. Humans weren't a separate category of being, they were resonant species who simply hadn't awakened yet. The implications were massive. If Kelthir could help humans develop resonance, the two species could form connections deeper than any alliance. But there was risk. Resonance made beings vulnerable in ways physical bodies didn't. If humanity learned to weaponize it, to manipulate or harm resonance, the Kelthir would be existentially threatened. Nyria admitted she was terrified and exhilarated. She'd broken every protocol by showing him could face serious consequences, but seeing his ability to perceive, she'd felt compelled to trust. Now she asked what he wanted to do with this knowledge. Jasper considered. He could report this to Earth's government, give humanity enormous advantage. But looking at Nyria, at the trust she'd placed in him, he knew the right choice wasn't strategic advantage. It was honoring what she'd shared. He suggested they approach both councils together and propose careful, consensual collaboration to explore human resonance potential. Not military leverage, but genuine spiritual and scientific partnership. Nyria's skin flushed gold with relief. Over following months, they worked to navigate the complexities. The Kelthir Council was initially furious, but Nyria's argument was compelling. Jasper had seen her resonance in her eyes without training, suggesting some humans were naturally perceiving what Kelthir thought hidden. Better to engage openly than risk humans discovering resonance through accident. Earth's scientific community was stunned. Some pushed to weaponize it, but Jasper's testimony about the profound beauty and vulnerability of Nyria's true form shifted the conversation. He argued resonance wasn't a tool to exploit, but an invitation to evolve. A joint program began, select humans training with Kelthir mentors to awaken their resonance. Jasper was among the first, with Nyria as his guide. Learning to perceive and nurture his own inner essence was transformative. The first time he manifested his own resonance, a tentative flickering light compared to Nyria's vast luminescence, she reached toward him in that space beyond physical, and their essences touched with colors that had no names. In that moment, Jasper understood what she'd risked by showing him. This was intimacy beyond anything physical beings typically experienced. One evening after training, Jasper told Nyria he understood now why she'd been afraid to show him, but he was grateful she'd trusted